are here at San Diego Comic-Con 2015, brought to you by our friend Marvel's Future Fight from Netmarble. I'm Tamara Krinsky, Marvel's West Coast host. I am here with
Lorraine Sink, host and writer of Marvel's Watcher, and we're joined by the ever-talented Jason Latour. How you doing?
Yay!
I'm still alive, so that's
And it's day 3, so
yeah.
that's like pretty hard.
That's a big deal.
Are you getting mobbed a little bit? Spider-Gwen is so crazy huge. Love the pins, by the way.
Nice.
I mean, is it just nuts for you? I mean, I've seen a lot of Spider-Gwens too.
Yeah, it's been really a very much an out-of-body experience, like dealing with all this stuff. And it's been particularly gratifying that it's become so ubiquitous that like people don't necessarily associate me with it. So there's been a lot of people that I've, in the past, like I would see people at shows that were cosplaying, and it was pretty easy to recognize that they recognized me or Robbie. So there's been a bunch of people at the show where I've just kind of snuck up and like took a picture with them, and they're kind of like, "What's this creepy old bald dude doing taking a picture with me?"
And you're like, you're wearing my
exactly.
character.
Yeah.
It's
So
mine.
the fact that she's become somewhat ubiquitous is, kind of entertaining to watch in and of itself. Like certainly like, as the creative team and basically the creators of the character, like we have a very, a firm and personal like investment in her. But you have to realize at some level, like for things to succeed, they become like part
of culture.
of everything. Yeah. So it's been really wild to like see a thing that was just an itch in the back of our heads, a year ago, like living and breathing and walking around, and they have a toy, and it's just been insane.
And it's so quickly. I mean,
Really
and now,
fast.
too, you're headed into the all-new, all-different Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about that? Because I'm hearing she's not going to be in our main continuity. She's going back to her home universe.
Well, largely the book is set in her own universe.
Largely. Ooh, teaser, I like
Ooh,
that.
there's
she's
room
very.
there.
She was born of a crossover. So
True.
like Spider-Verse was an event where it was, Spider-Man and women from all different realities sort of teaming up. So that kind of makes her unique from, say, like the original take on Ultimate Spider-Man, where like, that Ultimate Peter Parker at the beginning and all those characters had no idea that there was a Marvel 616. But Gwen like has always been influenced by the fact that she knows that there's another, all these other realities where people who've been bitten by spiders are heroes.
Right.
So that kind of makes her unique in the fact that not only does she know that stuff exists, but she'll, moving forward, have her own problems to deal with in her world, where she's largely like pretty much the only superhero at the moment. But she'll also have the ability to occasionally like pop over to the 616. So I think that opens up a lot of really neat stuff that makes her a part of the larger culture of Marvel, but also keeps her sort of unique. And also sort of like makes this a new alternate reality, something that we haven't seen before. I mean, it's not the Ultimate Universe necessarily, which was great, but it's a new thing.
Yeah.
And she's such a rock star, literally and figuratively. Did music influence her as a character?
Yeah, I mean, like one of the things that was born of was, it was kind of twofold. One was that like I knew I really wanted to work with Robbie and Rico, and one of the things that we have like in common is that we might bicker and argue over music, but we all like really like music.
What are your individual tastes? What are they all trend towards?
I tend to be all over the place. I'm a little more of an old man than like Robbie and Rico are, but like, there's a lot of commonalities, and like we still all listen to like a lot of hip hop and a lot of like stuff like that. Obviously I'm a co-creator of Southern Bastards, so I'm the guy who listens to like old country music and alt country music kind of stuff too. But like I like all kinds of stuff, and it's actually nice to have a friendship with people like Robbie and Rico who are into other kinds of stuff. It keeps you listening to a lot of different kinds of music.
Yeah.
But I knew that those dudes were into that sort of thing, and to create her and to create her world, we wanted it to be unique but also personal for all three of us.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of a natural, sort of organic thing where it was like, how can I get them excited, as excited about this as I am? And then also the other half of that was like, some of it was is supposed to be sort of a parallel of what it's like to be a superhero. You know, like an artist's journey is not that different in the sense that like you're sort of trying to decide how much of you is important and how much of like what you give to the world is important, and
And that
where do
public
those-
face.
It's a really interesting take. I love that.
Yeah, so where do those two things like, you know, meld together, and where do they cause problems for one another? And I just felt like it was something that was at the core of like spider mythos, but was also kind of, you know, I hadn't seen yet.
Do you that actually, I mean, one of the amazing things we, have in our world now is the ability to communicate with fans. So you end up sharing a lot more of yourself than you might not normally. Has that affected your work at all? How much do you sort of hold back? How much do you put out there?
Well, you know, you can't like, it's pretty crazy. I have this really awesome picture of me with like a little 6-year-old girl or whatever dressed as Spider-Gwen, and I don't have kids and stuff, so it's really like rewarding and like sort of encouraging and sort of a reinforcement to see that kind of stuff, because it reminds me like that this book is not necessarily always for me, you know, like, I mean, clearly like you don't want the tail to wag the dog, but knowing that like it's going out there into the world and that people respond to it, it's like that's why you tell stories, like that's why you get into, or that's why I got into this. Like I got into this to have a dialogue with people, so I really enjoy like the fact that, you know, you can like reach across the table.
You can. And Usman Dikoladan, I'm so sorry, I just butchered your Twitter handle, wants to know, do you have plans to plans to write for more Spider-Men and women, or even to create more of them?
I do, but I can't.
What can you tell us?
I can't get into that yet. But yeah, it's something that I'm kind of keeping on the back burner. But hopefully, you know, we'll have a long run with this book. So I mean, I've got years of it in my head. So I have a pretty crazy plan for that sort of stuff.
Speaking of plans, do you have anything that you can tease? I know we're still like kind of in the very beginnings of talking about stuff, but can you tease any big bads for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. The first story arc is sort of about like, as much as we're going to continue and work towards like the loose ends of the story that we've left hanging in our first volume, we'll be picking those back up, but we're also going to try and reintroduce the book to people. So like the natural way to do that is to go in and fill in some of these blanks that we've left, you know. So the very first storyline we'll see that like Gwen is dealing with the fact that there's Peter Parker in her universe died as the Lizard, and it was a secret that only a few people know, and suddenly there's a new lizard running around New York City. And so she's concerned about this because it like potentially desecrates the memory of her friend, and also terrifies her that it might actually be something that, you know, could become a larger threat. And that's going to lead us to meet a lot of characters that are sort of familiar with people, among which are the Osborns. So we finally are going to get to meet the Harry and Norman Osborn. Which, I mean, anybody that knows anything about the sort of the meta, you know, history of Gwen Stacy knows that like the Osborns and the Stacys are an interesting mix.
Have a weird history together.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about getting into that, you know, and that'll be a major thing moving forward. But we've also still got, you know, like our evil Daredevil and our crooked cop Castle.
I can't wait.
So
Yes, you actually got a comment. Jarek Cinneboyle says, more Matt Murdock.
yeah, much more Matt Murdock, and even some Le Chat Noir at some point. So
Love it. Well, where can people find you online and out in the universe?
if you just Google my name, I'm on Twitter as Jason Latour, Instagram, hot or not, whatever.
hotornot.com.
Yeah.
Check it out, you guys. We're going to have more coming up on Marvel Live. Right now, you can check out Lex's Shield Operation Recruitment.